The rain hammered against the transit station's transparent dome as Riza pressed his daughter Orla closer to his chest. The 5-year-old had fallen asleep an hour ago, her small fingers still clutching the worn stuffed rabbit she refused to leave behind. Around them, commuters hurried past, their faces illuminated by holographic advertisements promising better lives on the outer colonies. Riza checked his credit balance again. 32 units. Enough for transit home, nothing more. The construction job had fallen through. Another humans need not apply situation, though they never said it outright. They just happened to find a Zenthari worker who was more qualified. Excuse me? The voice was soft, almost musical, with the characteristic harmonic undertone of the Drakesh species. Riza looked up to find a female Drakesh standing before him, her iridescent scales dulled by grime and rain. She wore clothing that had once been fine but now hung in tatters. In her forearms she cradled a small Drakesh child, no older than Orla. "I don't have anything to give," Riza said, not unkindly. He'd been on the receiving end of too many cold rejections to pass that cruelty forward. "I'm not asking for credits," she said, her inner eyelids blinking slowly, a sign of sincerity among her people. "I'm asking for directions to the humanitarian shelter on Sublevel 7. Riza grimaced. That shelter closed 3 months ago. Budget cuts. The Drakesh woman's scales rippled with distress, shifting through shades of gray. Her child whimpered, a sound like wind through crystals. "I see. Thank you for telling me." She turned to leave, swaying slightly. Riza noticed the child's scales were flaking, a sign of severe malnutrition in young Drakesh. He'd worked construction alongside enough Drakesh to recognize the symptoms. "Wait," he heard himself say. "Stupid. Reckless. They barely had enough for themselves." But Orla stirred in his arms, and he thought about what he wanted his daughter to learn from him. "Come home with me." The Drakesh woman's scales flickered with surprise, cycling through blues and purples. You're inviting us to your dwelling?" "It's not much, but it's dry, and I can make something warm to eat." "You both look like you need it. Humans don't," she started, then stopped herself. "Forgive me. Most beings don't show kindness to my kind." Not anymore. The apartment was exactly as Riza had described. Not much. 40 square meters in the lower residential levels, where the ventilation systems groaned and the lights flickered when too many units drew power at once. But it was clean, and the heater worked. Riza laid Orla on the small bed they shared, tucking her rabbit beside her. The Drakesh woman, she'd introduced herself as Thessia, settled her child, a boy named Kiran, on the worn couch. "I'm sorry I don't have much," Riza said, surveying the pantry, "but I can make protein soup. There's a mineral supplement that should work for Drakesh physiology." Thessia's scales shimmered with gratitude, turning warm amber. "You know of Drakesh dietary needs? Worked construction with your people for 7 years. Learned a lot." He didn't mention that he'd lost that job too, when the company hired an all-Zenthari crew for cultural cohesion. As the soup heated, Thessia told her story. She'd been a xenolinguist respected in her field, but when the Drakesh homeworld's economy collapsed, her people became refugees. She'd lost her mate to radiation sickness in the transit camps, lost her position when human institutions began favoring other species for diversity. The prejudice had been subtle at first, then crushing. "We're the universe's latest undesirables," she said bitterly. "Your people understand that, I think." Riza nodded, serving the soup. "Yeah, we do." Thessia and Kiran stayed that night and the next. Riza told himself it was temporary, just until she got on her feet. But on the 3rd day, something unexpected happened. Riza returned from another failed job interview to find Thessia at his ancient computer terminal, Orla and Kiran playing with building blocks nearby. The children had bonded instantly, their laughter mixing, Orla's bright giggles and Kiran's crystalline chimes. "I hope you don't mind," Thessia said. "I found a listing. They're looking for a xenolinguist engineer team for the new colony station. The pay is substantial." Riza's heart sank. "That's great. You'll be able to—" "It requires both specialists," Thessia interrupted. "A linguist and an engineer. I have linguistics. You have construction engineering experience, yes?" "Well, yeah, but I submitted an application for both of us." "As a team," her scales rippled nervously. "I took the liberty because I think we're stronger together, humans and Drakesh. We both understand what it means to be pushed aside." And our children? She glanced at Orla and Kieran, who were building a tower together, each helping the other. They're already friends. 3 months later, Riza stood on the observation deck of Colonial Station Harmony, watching ships dock and depart. Orla rode on his shoulders while Kieran perched on Thessia's upper arms, all 4 of them marveling at the view. The job had come through. Not just the job, a real chance. They'd been assigned family quarters, generous enough for 2 adults and 2 children. The work was challenging but respected, and slowly other mixed-species families began arriving, drawn by word of a place where being different was an asset, not a liability. "You changed my life," Thessia said quietly, her scales the warm gold of contentment. "When you invited us home," Riza shook his head. "You changed mine too. I was so focused on what we'd lost, I forgot we could build something new." Orla tugged his hair. "Papa, Kieran and I are hungry." "Me too," Kieran chimed, his scales brightening with excitement. Thessia's harmonics resonated with amusement. "Then let's go home. Together." As they walked through the station's corridors, Riza realized that word, together, had taken on new meaning. Not just survival, but partnership. Not just shelter, but home. And it had started with the simplest act of human defiance, choosing kindness when the universe expected cruelty. That, he thought, was the most human thing of all.